They really did try to build this thing as a horror. They presented it as a horror in the trailer and everything.
Yeah, it's funny because this isn't Chloe Bailey's first horror. We saw another horror film of hers a while back, and it wasn't that great.
But this isn't even a horror movie.
It's supposed to be like a psychological thriller sort of a movie where Chloe Bailey is playing this musician who is a violinist who has a past that is a mystery that will unfold as the movie goes on. And, the hard thing about a psychological thriller is you have to keep people's attention. Now, I do want to point out that the director of this film was Malcolm D. Lee, the same Malcolm D. Lee who gave us like The Wood back in the day, right? He did The Wood. He has directed a bunch of other stuff. And it's like, okay, I have expectations. Although those expectations kind of take a little bit of a turn because one of the producers is Tyler Perry. So you kind of know that it's going to be there will be some salacious stuff or whatever that's going on in this. But
why? Does it have to be that Tyler Perry is involved in everything he creates has to be some melodrama?
Well, maybe no, but maybe people just go to him because they need the money to fund it, and he will fund it, and the stuff he likes to fund is that. Mostly, because he has made other stuff.
Yeah, so they tried to make it like a horror. So in the actual trailer, if you watch it, they show her mangled fingers and all kind of stuff that's in the music, right? It's just like a horror. You have the people at the time when the trailer came out, they were talking about, ooh, Chloe makes her horror debut. One of the comments is, I'm all for Chloe being a true horror scream queen. So then we have some sort of amnesia once the movie come out and be like, who said it was a horror? They positioned it as a horror to get us to watch but you set people up for to be disappointed. Like, to me, it was just the typical, like you say, Tyler Perry type of stuff.
Well, and that other movie I was talking about, which we did cover, by the way, that I will link in the description, is called The Exorcism. It came out in 2024. And she starred with Russell Crowe, who was like one of the biggest actors ever back in the day. But it didn't do well. And, we covered it, and you can go to that review if you want to know what we thought about it. But, so back to Strung, the hard part about a psychological thriller is that you have to keep people holding on step by step by step. And, these days we've seen a ton of psychological thrillers. So the bar is high. People are already from the beginning trying to figure out the who done it and the why and the whatever. And so when you build up a mystery, then the payoff has to be worth the build up. And I think that can be the problem with some of these films. Now, sometimes we're watching and we just don't care. We're just like, hey, it's Chloe Bailey or whatever. The other thing that I have to mention about Chloe Bailey, because I am rooting for her. I have been rooting for her since she was with her sister and they were singing covers on YouTube. I've always liked them. And I'm happy that she has kind of this at least double threat, right, with the acting and the music and stuff. And this was a great role for her in terms of, hey, it's a musician, so that shouldn't be too hard to play. In fact, some people said she even learned to play the violin in order to play this role. I'm not sure how true that is, but what I can say is I think she played multiple instruments, or at least was mildly familiar and well familiar with, more than one instrument. So from what I understand from musicians, to go from one instrument to the next takes some time and dedication, but it's not the same as a regular person who can barely play an instrument like myself if I was like, yeah, I'm going to go learn the violin for this role. Yeah, good luxury. But I thought this was, possibly a nice fit for her. But the biggest thing about Chloe is her branding and positioning being a problem, in my opinion, for longevity of her career. And especially when you look at and you compare her sister, Halle's career. Now, Halle had some really, really big opportunities with playing The Little Mermaid and other things. But Halle just came out with a film with Regé-Jean Page, I think is how you say his name. Anyway, he's the guy from Bridgerton and other stuff. And it was You, Me, and Tuscany, right? And so, but in that film, it was cute. It was a rom-com. It wasn't this type of film, which is fine, but it goes with her brand, you know, where she's a little sweet and maybe a little bit naughty. But what they have Chloe, or what Chloe has decided for her career, is that every film, you know, just like that other series that she was in, the series opens with her Swarm, right, with her getting her cakes clapped. Like, girl. And then in every movie, are you going to do it? Okay, maybe not complete nudity, but enough nudity and salaciousness that it affects you.
So the series started with her getting her cake clapped, and then this movie basically opened, not even 10 minutes, she's getting her cakes clapped.
Yeah. And I mean, she's beautiful. All of the things, you know, that you would look at and say she's gorgeous, but the way that her career is being positioned. And
I don't think that much matters for the future because of the way that society or culture is changing, in that those sorts of things may be more appealing now than maybe they were, right? And it's not necessarily a stain as it would have been in 1990.
I agree. It's not as much of a stain, but I think that when you look at it, if you look at her sister's career versus her career, I think that you're going to find that Halle Bailey is going to be around longer or get more opportunities or bigger opportunities than her sister. And I feel like it has something to do with eventually becoming typecast. I also want to say about the sisters that, you know, of course, we know that Beyonce, that was their idol. In fact, Chloe starred in that movie with Beyonce when she was a kid. Chloe played the young version of Beyonce in the Fighting Temptations 2003 movie when Chloe was just a kid. So, you know, so there's that. But Beyonce has, I think, really, and her mother, you know, early on with her positioning in terms of the clothes that they wore when they were with Destiny's Child, all of this stuff, and positioning the brand to be just sexy enough without going over the cliff. And I think we see Halle doing that, but Chloe is just off the cliff, you know, at this point. And it's cute right now, but I wonder what it will be for longevity and typecasting for her. But with that said, let us get into ruining this movie for you.
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber. So the film opens with Layla, who is Chloe's character, playing the violin, and she's on stage, and she is haunted by this image of a girl who, you know, turns dead, a little girl. While she's playing on the stage, the girl comes out of the, you know, out of the crowd and whatever, and it causes her to mess up her performance, right? And so we see Layla later, and she has this roommate, Jasmine, who's played by Coco Jones. Can I just stop and say that this movie, what it did get right is a very beautiful aesthetic. The people are all beautiful, in all hues of blackness, which I just love. And
do we have any regular looking folks?
No, everybody is gorgeous. Everybody is magazine level gorgeous in here. There is nobody who is regular. Maybe the maid, but to me, she was just older, or the cook. I think she was, but she was just older, but still, you know, good looking.
Yeah. And she was, so basically it's just the help can look regular, but nobody else can.
Yes.
2026. This is what we're doing.
So, but I mean, I would say the house looked great where they were. Everything was beautiful. And everybody in it was beautiful. So it's established early on that Layla is this violinist who is also a music composer. So she goes to this diner while she's composing music and sitting there at the diner. And of course, the diner has like a little, I've never seen the jukebox control at the table where you can put your money in at the table. But anyway, that's the way this one is set up. That must be like modern day jukebox, because back in the day, you know, you'd have to go over to the jukebox and put your money in to play
modern day,
whatever you want to play.
Download the app and put it and play it from the the
You
app.
just download
and
the
put it in
app
the
and then
queue.
you have your portable speaker and you make everybody listen to what you want to hear.
No, you put it in a queue and then it
Oh,
plays.
okay. Yeah, that goes to show how much I get out. So, but she is there composing music at the table and everything. And then a guy at the diner plays something, and then she plays something. And so, then of course he comes over and they wind up talking and everything. We find out that this mystery man, who is of course good looking, enjoys jazz music. And so he comes over, you know, and I mean, he clearly knows music well, which of course Layla is going to find attractive. So they're there and everything like that. Afterwards, they walk to says the hotel out front, and you know they're just walking. And she's hesitant because he's like, you know, we're going to come in. We made a connection. Let's get it on. And she's like, well, you know. And then she says the cliche line that every woman in these films says, I don't usually do stuff like this.
I don't usually do stuff like this, but
Let me just hop in here and remind you that, as many of you know, changes on this platform have pushed us toward a more viewer-funded model. If you would like to help keep our channels going, there are a few easy ways you can support. You can become a member and unlock over 100 exclusive videos, plus additional member perks. You can become an executive producer or co-executive producer on an upcoming video through Deep Dive On Demand, starting at just $10, just like the co-executive producers of this video. You'll get your name on screen and a shout out during the video, or you can pick up some merch to represent the community. Also, don't forget to join our mailing list so you never miss a video across any of our channels. Also, if you are looking for something to watch after this, check out our Bedtime Binge playlist. It's linked below. And it's full of videos that you may have missed, especially lately because we just haven't been getting any play from the YouTube folks and algorithm. You'll find links to all of these options in the description. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. And thanks for always helping us to keep these deep dives coming. The video is continuing, but we just wanted to say thanks. But the next thing you know,
Like,
you're
what?
laughing. And barely, as you mentioned earlier, barely 8 minutes into the film, Chloe's character, Layla, is getting her cheeks clapped by this guy in a one-night stand that she clearly doesn't even know. And so he leaves this folded note written on music, I guess it's notation paper, next to the bed, because of course he ain't
staff
saying
paper.
Is it what? I mean, it's very small though. It's like a little square. Yeah, it's like
so it's not staff.
It's staffs on it, but it's but anyway, it's music writing paper. Somebody in the comments who is an amazing musician will know exactly what to call this paper, but it's got lines for you to write music notes on it. But he writes his own note and it's in the shape of a little square, and he's made it like a little origami looking thing, and he leaves it on her nightstand. And this folded note, because of course he's gone. He didn't spend a night. He clapped and left. And so, but basically, you know, a nice note that he's left behind or whatever, that, you know, he had a good time. So Layla also teaches music. And so we see her in a school teaching music to the children. She's playing her violin and she's inspiring through music, which, by the way, as a sidebar comment, our arts programs within schools, within universities, all of this stuff is so underfunded these days. Whenever they're cutting the arts. And
in university?
Well, how do you make it to the, even in university you're paying, but like government grants, things like that support programs of the arts have been being cut for at least almost a generation at this point. And we are going to see, I don't even say we're going to see, we see on the flip side what that does. Like, way fewer people know how to play instruments. I mean, just to talk about the music aspect of the arts, you know, they fewer people know how to play instruments. We now also have the whole AI component that we've talked about a whole bunch of times, where like, what is even real music anymore? Because we have people just creating concoctions, and a lot of people seem satisfied with it. But I don't know about you, but when I hear a song that's AI, especially the ones that are supposed to be kind of like R&B or R&B influenced pop, they all sound like the same chick is singing. It sounds like this hodgepodge of different famous singers all put into one singer, and it's the same chick that sings every song, and yuck. But anyway, so she is teaching these kids, and, you know, so she just seems like a wonderful person. You know, she's teaching the kids, and all of that stuff. So after the class, she is approached by a woman that we later find out who her name is Audra, played by Lynn Whitfield, the legend Lynn Whitfield, who, by the way, the first time I ever saw Lynn Whitfield was in the Josephine Baker story, I think the official title of the film was. And I think it was an HBO movie, but it was way, way back in the day. And let me say that it required Lynn Whitfield to do waist up nudity because of the banana skirt that Josephine Baker wore, her famous, banana skirt, and her dancing like that. And the difference between nudity for actresses at that point and why she got nude, it was like for a good reason, the telling of a real legend story, right? Versus just getting your cheeks clapped. And I think that's maybe the difference in when nudity is viewed as more as art versus just salacious types of kind of smutty, low level, visuals for films, right? So Lynn Whitfield is Audra. And she says she's looking for a full-time live-in music tutor for little Zuri, her granddaughter. And I'm like, who has a live-in music tutor though? Normally they would come by like not a live-in nanny, but like a live-in music tutor. But okay. So Audra explains, the situation, and she entices Layla because she knows Layla wants to make it into the music conservatory, the Philharmonic, into a group where she's part of an orchestra, and the family is rich and they have connections. And so this is how Audra is able to entice her. And so Audra's daughter, Imani, Zuri's mother, is pregnant, very pregnant. And of course, the family is super rich. They live in this amazing mansion and compound or whatever with like servants' quarters, all that good stuff. So when we first meet Zuri, she's wearing this tribal mask and we can't see her face. And when she's introduced to Layla, she runs out of the room or whatever. So Audra and Layla continue to talk and they sit down and discuss this assignment. And we find out that Zuri has a ton of allergies to the point where Audra says that the whole house is hypoallergenic and that they're going to provide natural fiber clothing that Layla will wear while she's there. Excuse me? Like they're giving you your clothes to wear? That's just weird to me, but okay. So Audra says that, Imani, her daughter, is an overprotective mother, overprotective over Zuri. And so when she meets Layla, she seems cold and dismissive, Imani does, and she kind of ignores her or whatever. Now, Imani looked like she just walked off the pages of any magazine. I mean, she is beautiful, beautiful. She's played by Anna Diop. And so Audra explains that Zuri is Imani's child from her first marriage to this rap star, Reginald Garvey Bell, and they call him RGB for short. This is so confusing, and y'all, I may mess it up because let me tell y'all, in the Cooley High video, I called Brenda Deborah like half the time in that video, and I'm so sorry I did that. But anyway, because whenever I hear the letters R, G, and B, I think of RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Supreme Court Justice?
The Supreme Court Justice, right. And so she, but anyway.
Wait, not the Pan-African flag or the Pan-African
colors?
colors?
I think about that too, but to keep it like the thing I also, but when I think about it, okay, RGB, red, green, black, I think of that too. Mm-hmm. So it's just, RGB. It's going to confuse my mind as I talk about this. So if I mess that up, give me some grace, y'all. But anyway, so Audra explains that RGB overdosed and he was unable to overcome his upbringing of gangs and drugs. And she, of course, says it in the most, high-class Lynn Whitfield actress and character sort of way. Like he just couldn't overcome his upbringing of gangs and drugs. She plays that uppity role so well. So then Imani basically married his manager after his death. And that's who she's pregnant by right now and married to, right? So when they go back inside, Zuri is introduced to Layla, and now Zuri is playing on the piano like she can't play, and I'm thinking, how is she supposed to work this miracle on this girl who can't play? But anyway, her grandmother Audra tells her, take off the mask, Zuri. And she says, you first, grandma. Okay, so back to the idea of the fact that this is a psychological thriller, right? And
fake horror.
Yes, and fake horror. But it's supposed to give you a lot of misdirection, right?
intentionally,
so that you don't know somebody's the bad guy, and it's not the main character, Layla. So who's the bad person? Obviously, we've just met the grandmother, the Audra, the daughter, Imani seems very cold. It could be her, but the little girl says, "You take your mask off first, Grandma." So that's like the first hint we have. Now, let me just ruin this for you and say that your inclination in the beginning is correct. And I guess what we see lately is they'll give it to you in the beginning, make you suspect the person who it really is, and then they take it away at some point and make you suspect somebody else, and then they bring it back to the original person. But
But see, if you watch the trailer, then they talk about, oh, this house, the people in this house is this and that, and then they show like Imani looking weird, and what I'm saying. So it's just like but then it also shows that Layla is basically getting dragged out there on the beach in the trailer. So it's, what the hell.
So Layla shows Zuri a few chords on the piano, and she plays, and Zuri is able to play a little bit. And so she's showing like how well she knows music and what a good teacher she is and how she could connect with the young people as well. And so it seems clear that she's a good fit. And so then we find out from Jasmine, her friend, that half of RBG's songs,
RGB.
See, there we go. Half of RGB's songs came out after he died. So it's like, and that's just slid in there by Jasmine a little bit, but we kind of ignore it in this moment. So Layla continues to have nightmares of the little girl who had kind of ruined her performance earlier in the opening scene and interrupted her concert. But anyway, the next day we see that she's moving in with the family. She is a tutor, but it's more like she's a nanny and assistant. And I'm sorry, I would be mad if I'm like, hey, I'm the music tutor, but then you're telling me, oh, make her special, green drink. Go over here,
but
help in the kitchen.
$10K a month.
It's
not you, but
yeah, I mean, if you're getting paid that much money, yeah, man. And she did need the money, let's be clear, because she was like couch surfing with her friend Jasmine.
6 figures.
But oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I want to teach music. I'm not here to be your maid. Not that there's anything wrong with being a maid, but like it's false pretenses. But anyway, so Layla moves in with the family. She's a tutor, but it is like she's kind of the nanny and the assistant.
She is the nanny because that's what
the maid
Audra calls her.
Yeah. Well, after, but what did Audra say in the beginning? She said, oh, we need a live-in music tutor.
Exactly.
No, what you needed was a maid and a nanny. So Zuri continues to wear the mask and while she takes lessons. So imagine this little girl wearing this tribal mask over her face all through the house and never takes it off.
And this point in the movie, every time she show up, it'd be the music.
Yeah. And to this point in the movie, we have never seen her face, right? Layla is basically being wooed by the connections that the family may have. So even though she gets a few more responsibilities, she's rolling with the punches because she's getting paid good. And also because of the promise of the connection with her being able to, get into the orchestra or the conservatory that she wants to get into. Layla is fun, where everything in this house is like stuffy. The little girl don't have no friends. She can't go out. But Layla's like, oh, let me show you how to do this. I'm your friend. I'm like your big sister, right? And so Imani seems like she doesn't like Layla. And she doesn't treat her very nice at all. And we finally get to see Zuri's face at breakfast one day. Zuri takes her mask off. And when I tell you, Zuri is like the cutest little girl. I mean, when I tell you everybody in here was gorgeous.
Her face supposed to be burnt up or something.
Like a reason for you to wear the mask. But anyway, we find out more about this mask later. Let me just, spoiler alert, it's a disappointment when we find out about what this mask is supposed to be doing. But anyway, she shows her face. She's the cutest little girl. So the same breakfast, we discover that Marcus is Imani's husband, is the same guy that Layla had the one night stand with. Of course he is. Of course. If you've ever watched one of our videos and said, y'all need to cover this movie next, This is your chance to make it happen. There are 2 ways to participate in our Deep Dive on Demand program. As a sole executive producer, you'll receive exclusive on-screen executive producer credit, a shout out during the video, and best of all, you can choose any movie you'd like us to cover. As a co-executive producer, you'll also receive on-screen credit and a shout out, but you'll share the credit with other co-executive producers and you'll choose from our select list of films. Also, for a limited time, we are offering 2 special bundles. Our co-executive producer bundle, including 3 co-executive producer credits for just $25, a savings of $5 since they're regular $10 each, or choose our executive producer bundle for just $75 and receive everything included with the sole executive producer credit, plus you're going to get 3 co-executive producer credits at the same time. That's a $30 added value. This is a fun way to support the channel, get your name in our videos, and help shape what we cover next. You'll find links to all of the producer options and bundles in the description below. So they both look shocked to see each other when he comes in and he's introduced. Oh, this is Marcus. And then she know that she was just on her back with her toes pointed north with this man not that long ago. So Marcus then corners Layla and accuses her of, how did you find me? Why are you here? Like she sought him out and then, is doing some old crazy wannabe girlfriend stuff and, is seeking him out. And she's like, what? I ain't find you and everything. And so she's mad. She's like, but you married? And he's like, well, And so she's like, you know what? I'm quitting. But he's like, look, and he convinces her to stay for double the pay. So now she's about to get double of what she was getting before, just so that Zuri, she's had a lot of changes. Zuri won't be upset. Just go ahead and stay, or whatever. So Zuri catches them talking because they go off like behind or beside one of the buildings in this massive compound to talk to each other. So when Zuri comes up, she's just like, oh, I'm going to stay or whatever. And Zuri's like, oh, it's okay. I don't need much help, but I think maybe you will. Dun, dun, dun. You're supposed to be like, just, oh man, why is the little girl telling her this, right? And the ADR on this movie is crazy. The ADR where they like voice over the parts where, they didn't get good sound, like when they're outside or whatever, because I'm convinced that the ADR is not the actor, because there's points where it sounds. One thing I have is a really good ear for other language influence on accents and stuff. And it sounds kind of like a mimicking Chloe Bailey voice, but they have an accent and even a weird lisp at some points and times. But there's some parts where it's like, that is not Chloe Bailey's voice. That's just not it. And when you think about ADR, right, and you think about in today's world where you want to save money, then ADR happens after the fact. So you film you made the film and whatever, but if they didn't get the actors to come back for the ADR or something was going on and they couldn't do it, hey, let me just get another person to impersonate their voice. And
or
it was
2026, let's slop it in there.
Yes, because when I tell you, AI slop, when I tell you that there was something wrong with the ADR, and I'm not like a nitpicky person, but I was like, that is not Chloe's voice. What is going on? And then in addition to that, it's just not good ADR. And bad ADR can mess up a film. When we first got into, you might as well say, filmmaking, studying photography, film, video, and all of that stuff, one of the things that we learned is that people can tolerate bad video, but not bad sound. You know what I mean? Like if the sound on a movie or a video is bad, you don't want to listen to it. Now, if it's as long as it's not too shaky, or if the coloring isn't just perfect on the screen, you could deal with that. But if the sound is bad, if there's a hum in the background, if you're hearing too much of the hiss of the S sounds and the semblance, all of that is problematic, and we just don't have a lot of tolerance for that. And a lot of people don't realize that that's what they're doing, but it is true. And this is why I feel like I noticed it, because it stood out to me. But anyway, so next we see that Chloe notices this terrarium with a snake in it. And the snake has this trinket with this thing that looks like a mask cover, like a tribal cover on the top of this little trinket box that's in there with the snake. So
every horror movie has a snake.
So she's in there with the snake, not in there with the snake, but she sees the snake. So Chloe calls her friend Jasmine, and remember that's Coco Jones's character, and she tells her about Marcus. This is the dude I slept with, or whatever and whatever. Chloe's like, he's married and that's against my policy. And Jasmine is basically like, she don't see a problem with it. She like, he a freak, you a freak, And so her friend kind of is just like, what's the big deal? It doesn't matter. But Layla is like, look, I'm standing on business. It is against my policy. But girl, I thought you said you don't do this all the time, but you got policies. But okay. So anyway, Chloe gets off the phone after she hears a noise and some crying when she goes to see, and it's Imani, and then it's crying like,
they made that scary too. They was like, and she's walking all slow. What is she going to see? Oh, a woman who is just cleaning out her closet.
Yeah, and crying. But when she goes in there, Imani doesn't look like her eyes are not really red. And then Imani just starts talking normal. And then asking her, oh, yeah, what do you think about Marcus? Talking about her husband, and she's like, well, women love him and all of this and that and da-da-da. Then she asks
That's
Chloe.
That's a weird question. So you hired somebody to be a nanny or a house or music teacher, and then you like, what you think of my husband?
Well, because her mother brought her up in there with her husband. See, so I didn't find it odd at all, because she's like, well, what you on?
What?
She wanted to know if she was single because, mistakenly, a lot of people think that if you have a man that you ain't going to be after their man.
Yeah, but that wasn't a question. What you think of my man is not the same as, are you single?
Well, she asked the "Are you single?" question next.
Oh.
So this is a series of questions for her to be able to gauge whether or not Chloe is on her man
what else she
in her
say
house.
About her man in her house.
Well, she. This is why it just is. This is why it's elementary.
They did it for the audience because the audience know that they had something going on. So when she say, "What do you think of my man?" Ooh,
but this is also why it's elementary, because this would be something that a woman who is not sophisticated in the ways of how these things work would ask. Oh, what do you think about? Well, a lot of women like my
because
husband.
She got with the dude who was basically probably real close friends with her ex-husband.
Well, I guess we'll see how sophisticated that she is. But she does ask Chloe if she's single and whatever. And so Imani says, true love is dangerous and terrifying. So, everybody is going to drop these cryptic messages and lines in the film that has you wondering what's up with this person.
Let us know if people in your life speak like that.
Yeah, nobody in my life speaks like that. They just will tell you straight out, or they won't say nothing at all. They'll be like, But anyway, so then she puts her hands around Layla's neck and she's like, but being choked during sex is the best orgasm you'll ever have. Excuse me? It's
Why?
weird. First of all, nobody's going to get close enough that I'm going to let them put their hand on my neck, because I don't know you like that. And that's just I would think your survival instinct would have that not be okay. But anyway, so then it takes this weird turn.
This?
So because it's just for us to it's just gibberish for us to be confused. So we're like, oh, well, does she want a threesome? Since, we don't know what she wants, right? And that's by design. But anyway, so she says that. But the other thing I'm going to say, and really, I'm not a uptight, stiff type of person. Some amazing, good, salacious sex stuff that is not masquerading as having another purpose is amazing to me. This is not that. And the problem with this is that it's just thrown out there as kind of the fodder for people who just want some basic, ooh, he said, or she said, and now she says she want to be choked during sex. Okay. So anyway, this happens, and then she tells Layla to get rid of these clothes here, send them to Goodwill or whatever. And so Layla is going through the closet to find, to gather the clothes to go to Goodwill. And then she sees a photo album of the family, Zuri and her mother and father, and she also sees a handgun. Dun, dun, dun. If you are not a member on Axiom.app, Patreon, or YouTube, you are missing out on over 100 exclusive members-only videos, plus other perks like early access to some videos, your name listed as a contributor in videos, and more. So join today for as little as $5 a month. It is a great way to support the channel. The link's in the description. I was thinking, like, you got a little...
That's how they made it. Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It wouldn't be weird to have a handgun, I don't think, unless, well,
You're in
maybe
America,
it's illegal
so
where you are, but whatever.
It's not illegal for rich people anywhere they are in America.
But to have a handgun. Now, what I was more concerned about is, like, you got this little kid around and it's just in a regular box, and why isn't it locked up? That's my thought about it, because I'm pretty sure nobody is giving little Zuri lessons on how to use a handgun. So, you know, there's that. But later, we see that Layla continues to teach Zuri, who's still wearing the mask all the time. So she takes the mask off. We see her at breakfast.
He put it down and
put it back on.
Whoa.
Every time. I know.
Like, wait, what?
I know the score is kind of wild in that way, right? And so later, after she's teaching her and everything, suddenly Zuri can play like a virtuoso. She's just like playing this particular melody just like a master of the piano. And whenever anybody walks by the room, then Zoe starts playing basic scales again. Dun, 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 dun. You know, and it's like, okay, everybody has a secret. Zuri has a secret that she can play. Well, why can she play? And she's not telling anybody. Everybody is figuratively wearing a mask. But the notion of a mask is just at this point so played out and basic in terms of the use of it as a metaphor is, yeah. So anyway, but the mask. So then Zuri, like you said, takes off the mask because when Chloe sees the mask, I mean, not Chloe, when Layla she's got the mask on and she hears this tune, Layla's like, well, play that again. Zuri take that mask off. She's like, I'm going to be fully myself. And then what happens? The sound effect. And then she starts to play the melody again. And Layla's like, well, wow, this song makes me feel sad. And Zuri says, this song makes me feel less alone. So that's, her line that we get. So we see Zuri is lonely because ain't no kids around and she got a crazy family that just keeps her kind of locked away, except when she goes to her expensive private school. So Layla goes to the grandmother Audra after she realizes what's going on. This is Lynn Whitfield's character. And she's like, well, does Zuri have any play dates or whatever? Because she's lonely, right? Audra's like, oh, we don't do that.
We don't play.
We don't do that. And it's funny.
I don't play behind my grandbabies.
She's like, nah, we don't do that. So Audra tells her that Zuri is the one who found her father dead and whatever, supposedly of an overdose. And Layla says that Zuri is wearing the mask as a shield for when she feels something is wrong. So this is the big reveal of the purpose of the mask. Her father had given her this mask, by the way. So obviously it's something that helps her feel connected to her father as well. So this girl is wearing this mask around and it's been built up. It's not that the mask, is filtering out, toxic air in the house. Right. The mask is just, And
don't worry about the mask because you ain't going to see it no more.
Well, the mask serves one final purpose and we'll get to that. So Audra invites Layla to dinner the following night because, Audra's like, well, it can be so hard for us to see that Zuri is connecting with someone from the outside when we've been trying to connect with her for so long since the father's death and whatever. Sure. Okay. But she invites Layla to dinner. She's like, I'll find you something to wear or whatever. So Marcus comes in while Zuri is online with her tutor, right? And I think it was a Japanese tutor. And he asked Zuri, oh, I got this group and I'm trying to translate some of their lyrics or whatever. And I was hoping to catch your tutor online so I could ask her. And Zuri is like, what do you need translated? Of course. And so he's like, oh, you can translate it. And then he turns to Layla and he says, okay, and you transcribe what she says that it means to, to get her to write it down.
Well, I say it and you dictate it.
I said, okay, y'all know I have stories. I have to digress. When I was in high school, and, as women, a lot of you in the comments you understand what it's like to grow up in a world full of sexism. You know what it's like to be in a world where some of us, some humans think that because they have a twig and berries, you know what I'm saying, that automatically makes them smarter and more important, and most importantly, they should be in charge of things. So I was in my physics class, and this is in high school, and you know how you break up and you're in groups or whatever, and each person in the group is supposed to do something. And I think this might have even been the project where we were supposed to build the bridge and see how much weight it can hold. You know, right? And the guy turns to me, and he's like made himself, this one guy, there were 4 of us, I believe, and he made this one guy, he made himself like the leader, and maybe there was at least one other guy there, so it was maybe 2 girls and 2 guys. And he turns to me, and, you know, he's saying how we're going to do all of this stuff. And I was just like, way to take over much. But anyway, and then he was, okay, this is going to sound so, I shouldn't say this, but I will, because I'm just going to
He was one of the slow ones and you wasn't.
My own snootiness, but he wasn't in the same tract, but somehow you know, like he wasn't in the honors classes and all that stuff, but somehow we wound up in a physics class. And maybe it was because I don't think we had honors physics. So sometimes we would interact with people who weren't in the magnet school
just
tract
watch
in this way.
Survivor and those other shows like that.
You'll see how it works. Exactly. So, you know, he's made himself the boss of everyone. And I was just like, okay, all right. So then he turns to me, and he, in the midst of it, he says, "You dictate it while I say it." I just was like, I'm flabbergasted. Like, okay, what he obviously meant was that he wanted me to be the secretary and write down whatever he says. But he said, "You dictated while I say it." And I was like, okay, sure, I'll dictate it while you say it. You know, and so me and the other people got it. But, you know, it sucks because I was at the time, obviously a young lady, and he's a dude, he automatically thinks he's smarter, thinks he should be in charge, thinks all of this stuff. But when I tell you that, you know, because I got home, I told my mom about it. She said, well, you know, you're going to encounter people in the world who are like this. And from then on, it became a saying, "You dictate it while I say it," meaning that, you know, like anytime this happened in the future, I'd be like, yeah, Mom, he was one of those "you dictate it while I say it" people, you know? And of course, I shared this with Heit, you know, later on. And that's just like our inside joke. You dictate it while I say it. And this is, you know, a crazy, crazy kind of situation that happened. But that is exactly what Marcus is having Layla do. He wants to dictate it, or he wants it dictated and her to write it down, her to notate it. Okay. So Layla is writing it down. She transcribes what's said, and then that's the end of that. He takes they read it, and it's like, oh, it's my fault. Some supposed to be some lyrics or whatever. But yeah, in the moment, anybody watching is kind of like, that's interesting, but just kind of dismisses it. Next, we see Zuri going to her, you know, private school where all the rich kids go. The driver is driving them, and Layla is dropping her off at school. So she rides to school with her, drops her off, you know, and whatever. There's Zuri takes her mask off to go to school, though. She keeps the mask on in the car, but right as she's about to go in the school building, she takes the mask off. So she's safe at school. She, you know, doesn't feel threatened at school. But when you're at the crib, I'm keeping this mask on the entire time. But there's also this woman watching, and she kind of looks like a bit of an older woman, you know. And later,
you know, the eerie person who's following the main character around, who knows everything.
Yes. And you're like, oh, okay. You know, it's just full of cliches like this, right? So later, Layla is given this red slinky dress to wear to dinner. And she comes into dinner because remember, she's been invited to dinner with the family.
What the hell is a slinky dress?
Like it's slinky, like it's just... It moves and it flows and it hugs all the curves, and it's just you know, but she's looking like this sexy ingenue in this bright red dress. And she comes in the room for dinner. Imani's at the table. Zuri's at the table. Imani's husband, Marcus, that she done boned, is at the table. And Audra is there, you know, as well, the grandmother who gave her this dress, mind you. We already know that Audra is like, I don't even want to, what do you call her? She's an antagonist, right? Because you gave this girl this dress to look all sexy, to come down and be in front of your daughter's husband at dinner. But okay. So, of course, Imani is mad because she's looking at her like, why you got that on? And then also because the dress is one of the dresses Imani was getting rid of that Audra had her wear. So, Audra is just stirring the pot. So the family goes around and they're saying individual grace before food. Imani is talking about resisting temptation and all of this because she's trying to send the message like, get up off my husband, and everybody else at the table goes around. And when it gets to Layla doesn't realize she's supposed to say a line of the grace and she doesn't. And then Imani gives her a line to say, and the line Imani gives her to say for grace is, cleanse me from my sins and restore me to your grace. And of course, when she's saying that, we get Layla reminded of, the steamy sex that she had with Imani's husband, Marcus, who is also sitting there at the table. So later in the garden outside of the house, Zuri is talking to Layla and, they're out there interacting and Zuri gets stung by the bee. Of course, she's allergic. Zuri's face immediately begins to disintegrate and all of this. This is from Layla's point of view. Layla dramatically runs, gets the EpiPen out of her bag and then administers the EpiPen. And while this is happening, Layla sees she's envisioning that little girl that we saw from before. And Layla wasn't supposed to have Zuri outside without the parents or anybody's permission. But Zuri is okay. Layla is hysterical and crying. Of course, Marcus has to come for her. Come here, baby. Let me put my arms around you. And then Zuri snaps. Not Zuri. And then Imani snaps on Layla. Because Imani's like, you ain't supposed to have her outside. And we don't pay you to think what's good for her. We pay you to do what we pay you to do. So she's really pissed. And y'all go to the comments. If somebody took your child outside and the child got stung by a bee, wouldn't you snap on them too, though? Even though in this moment, she's made to seem very unreasonable.
No.
What would you do, Heit?
Dang, that's messed up. They got stung by a bee.
But if they got stung by a bee doing something that you told them not to do with the child, like...
Yeah, but then that would mean that I'm in a position to say my child should never go outside.
Yeah, I feel that part.
So...
But at the end of the day, that's your child and you should be able to decide what happens. And if somebody does something other than what I had wanted done, I think it's not unreasonable to be pissed off about that.
Yeah, but if what you want is just wrong,
to the detriment of the child.
It's very weird.
Well, I can see the gray and all of that. I really can. So Layla has connected with Zuri. She's explaining all of this, what happened with Zuri, to Jasmine, her friend, the Coco Jones character. And she doesn't want to leave Zuri. She's like, I've connected with her and whatever. And we also find out what happened kind of with the other little girl. At least, we find out, oh, hey, what happened to so-and-so isn't your fault, because that's something that Jasmine says when she's on the phone with Layla. So, they're piecemealing these clues. We're seeing flashes. And the thing is, when you're making me wait for it, the payoff has to be amazing. And every time I see this little dead girl that you keep showing me, it's building it up. And if if the payoff isn't big enough, then I'm disappointed.
Right. And is this the same girl from the opening scene who's crawling in like she's in a ring or something?
Yeah, The Ring, that movie,
like,
The Ring. Yeah, so Layla is walking around the big house at night and she comes across Marcus up in the studio that is, on the grounds or whatever. This actually was RGB's. I'm gonna mess it up every time. This was RGB's studio where, now it's Marcus's studio. And Marcus offers her a drink and she takes it. And so they're sitting there and they're having a nightcap together. And we find out that RGB has recorded like so many things. It sort of reminded me of the way they say Tupac had recorded like everything, just a bunch of recordings, way more than he ever released. That's how this guy is. And he's got all these recordings that are there. And all this money they have, they're not properly archiving it. You're just sitting it in a regular house somewhere. Yes.
Okay, bro.
And then if you reflect back to what was told to us earlier by Jasmine, that most of his music came out after he was dead. So they doing something. They're monetizing it. They're monetizing it. So Layla explains that she lost her sister to asthma because I was confused at first because the little girl seemed a little too old that this is supposed to be her daughter, but they're like, who is this little girl? But now we find out that this is her sister. She died in Layla's arms because she had asthma. It was too late or whatever. She was outside in the park and I guess her asthma was triggered and she died before the ambulance even showed up. So now we know why she's so connected to Zuri, why she's convinced that she's got to save Zuri, and then also why she's connected and she's got this haunting from her sister having died and whatever. So then as Marcus always, why is it in these movies, these men always want to comfort? Is that what men do in real life? Y'all go to the comments. If you're around a dude and you start crying, does he take you into his arms and hold you regardless of your relationship? I need to know this. I need to know. You know, and those of you if you've listened to some of the recent videos, you'll understand that I haven't really had this experience so much because I come from a culture where we don't touch men who are not related to us like that. So I just want to know, like, out in the other parts of the world, like, you know, what is this? Does the man just hold you? You know, this is your friend and he just pulls you into his arms and he holds you, you know, because that is what Marcus does in this moment. They look in each other's eyes and they have a moment. And of course, Layla realizes that and she's like, look, I got to get out of here. So she runs out of you know, she exits quickly. Okay. And she goes back to her room. Marcus shows up in Layla's room talking about, you know, I got to get some more of that. And she's like, but what about Imani? He say, don't worry about Imani. I just want you. I only want you. And then we get a second scene of them doing the nasty in every possible position. He done went down on her. He done went up on her. He done turned her around. And, well, maybe not the one position, you know, they didn't do, but they, you know, they were doing a lot and it's giving us, you know, it's giving right in this moment. And then he chokes her during the do. And boy,
why did he do it then? Why didn't he do it the first time he cracked?
Mm-hmm.
It just,
yeah. Okay. So, but he chokes her.
This is his thing. He always does it, but just not the first time he smashed.
You know,
only after his wife says something who, spoiler alert, wasn't even involved in the whole plot.
Yeah. So, but he chokes her during the do. You know, he's just getting it just right. She didn't let him hit the root. If you know, Alexis K. Tyler, and about not letting nobody hit the root, he didn't hit the root. She is pretty much, excuse my terminology here, but dickmatized. She's into him now. She's all happy the next day. She's like singing Whistle While You Work at this point. But she has a big bruise on her neck that she has to put makeup over because of where he has obstructed her airway and her bloodway in her neck. So Marcus has left another note talking about you make me feel alive or whatever. Marcus is like digging her, you know, or at least he's buttering her up. What do you call it? He's risen her up. And he also left, you know, like I said, that big scar. He left that big bruise on her neck from where he was choking her. So when Layla takes Zuri to school this time, that same woman who's been watching starts chasing them to get Zuri's attention. And she seems totally crazy and people get her and everything like that. Imani finds out, she's upset. She wants to take Zuri to take off the mask. Zuri won't take her mask off. Imani tells Layla, draw me a bath, because, you know, at this point, Layla is the help. And Marcus is like, because now he's doing, you know, Layla too. He's like, no, I'll go ahead and get you a bath, honey. She said, I told Layla to draw me a bath. So then they go into the bath room after she's drawn the bath, and Layla helps Imani get in the tub. And Imani's like, oh, can you help me wash my legs or whatever? Because she's very pregnant. Like, this baby is going to drop any second, you know? And so she starts helping her wash her legs and whatever. And then Imani starts talking about Marcus. You know, Marcus used to do a lot for me and things have changed and things are different now and whatever. And, you know, Layla is watching this, and Imani is, of course, Imani is manipulating in this moment because she's trying to get Layla to see, like, look, this is my husband. You messing with my situation. And, you know, he already doing, you know, like, so then the baby kicks and she tells Layla, touch my stomach. So I think that this was to, like, hit home to her, like, get up off my man, because we have a family. Like, this baby is real. It's about to come out.
That's how women do? One of them just naked in the tub, and the other
I
one
don't
just
think that's
start
weird to be
touching
like
on 'em.
that. I don't think that that's what, but the appeal to don't mess up my life with my husband. Yes, that is something that women
I'm
do.
not even questioning it. I'm talking about woman
Be in a
naked
tub
in the
like
tub
that.
and a woman
I mean,
putting
I don't know.
her
Maybe that
hands
was
on
just
her.
for the gratuitous nudity or partial nudity. I don't know. And because it's just weird as hell to put yourself in that much of a physically vulnerable position with a woman that you think is on your man like that. But that's what she does. Somebody else go to the comments because maybe there's some other play take on that I'm not making the connection for, like something that we see in a play that's happened in the past in another film or whatever. But anyway, so she's nude in the tub and she feels the baby kick and everything. But in the process of this, the water splashes up, her hair is getting wet, talking about Layla. And then Imani notices the choke marks. And Imani you could see her heart sink because she know what that means. Child, you got the choke marks. That means you've been in bed with my husband.
That means she told her man she want to be choked because Imani just convinced her
so she's
that
mad at
choking
herself.
is good.
So next. So it's just kind of messed up or whatever. But this is my thing. How come Layla's self-preservation never let her just leave this house? Because when, are you comfortable? Okay, I do know that we have some ladies who have spoken up, and I appreciate you speaking up about your comfort just being the other chick, being the side chick. You're cool with that. You're cool with sleeping with people's husbands. I want to know from the ones who are cool with sleeping with people's husbands, when you see this type of complexity going on, does your self-preservation kick in and say, this is one of those situations I don't want to be involved in this, because this could get real extra messy. This is more than just, meeting somebody's husband in a hotel room every once in a while. You sleeping with this man up under the roof with his wife and all that. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. But Layla continues to practice the violin and everything. And also, Layla tells Zuri, look, be sure to trust your instincts. If something feels off, then trust your instincts.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, and your power to protect yourself.
Why did she tell her that?
Because it'll be needed later in the movie, right? You got to write it in.
The only reason, yeah.
Somewhere in. But is it natural according to what's going on? Your instincts to protect yourself ain't kicking in.
It doesn't need to be said at all, but they only wanted to say it so that later on you could be like, ooh, it's a connection to something earlier.
Well, yeah.
When it could have just not been mentioned earlier, and then that thing happened.
Right. And so, of course, Zuri, though, she's like, oh, well, in this tradition, they say when you get, when you get that feeling that it's your ancestors guiding you and stuff. So, that connection is also made. And we know Zuri has an ancestor. Her dad is gone.
Not God
and he's
with
an
all
ancestor.
His grace and all that other shit that was going on in the movie.
Well, but I guess maybe one of the things is that this does highlight is the conflict, maybe even between, religions of the West and traditions from Africa and African spirituality. So Layla continues to bone Marcus up under his wife's roof. They sleeping together again. And during pillow talk, Marcus invites Layla to play a violin solo at Imani's baby shower because somebody from the Philharmonic or something like that will be there, during the baby shower. And so during this solo, Layla starts messing up. And then after, because we like this, she just can't take the pressure. Here we go again. You messing up during your solo performance and ruining your chances. Then when she turns the violin, we see that it was vandalized, like it was cut, it was sliced and whatever. And that's supposed to be the reason why she messed up. Y'all, if you know somebody who plays the violin, go to the comments if you've seen this movie, because I feel like your violin getting cut in the back wouldn't make the sounds that was made, because the sound sounded like you're strumming the wrong thing, not like the sound of the violin that was supposed to resonate didn't completely resonate. You know what I mean? So y'all let me know. I'm no expert. I want to defer to you.
So this is the second time this happened in the movie. So why would you think somebody want to hire you as a music teacher? You can't even play.
Well, maybe you can teach, but you just can't do.
Yeah.
Consistently,
And she wasn't teaching violin, so yeah.
So Layla then tries to attack Imani because she thinks, she sees that there's also a note that's tucked into it, and it says, "I know." On the note, written on that note that Marcus had left behind for her on the bed, the nightstand. So it says, "I know." So she goes and tries to attack Imani in the middle of her baby shower, and she looks crazy, so somebody's got to pull her away. She tries to, but she was like, "You're crazy. You're whatever." She's yelling at her because
why?
Because she
knows.
She thinks that she tore up her violin and is ruining her chances, right? So
when she's just trash.
Well, one or the other is true. So Audra tells Layla, "I'm so disappointed. I can't believe you would come in here and sleep with my daughter's husband under this roof." So she is disappointed, and she's like, "But you can stay until the recital, until the girl has all she needs to play," and blah, blah, blah. So then when the maid hears that Layla basically done been kicked out, the cook, she says, "It's for the best because this place kills you or makes you wicked." Mind you, you here and you staying here. So which one are you? Because you ain't dead, so you must be wicked too.
So why does she keep going there? Oh, a week after this, I'm going to just keep showing up over there.
Yeah, girl.
And then a cryptic message, "I know." She didn't confront you and be like, "Yeah, I know you're doing this." You like, "I'm going to put a thing in your violin so that when you see this,
like, you might try to hurt me.
What?
I'm not staying around for this foolishness." It doesn't make any sense. So Jasmine helps Layla understand that the woman who had been showing up at the school is actually RGB.
How does she know this?
Mother, because she went and looked her up, and with the people who are just like such super sleuths that know how to like back
so why
look
did
at
she
a photo
look it
and stuff, because she was telling her about the woman approaching them in school and whatever. So, she tells Jasmine everything that happens. And this is like the knowledgeable friend trope, right? The friend who seems like she doesn't know nothing and is always skeptical, but then kind of figures out the story before the main character who's sitting there watching everything happen can figure it out.
But then they instantly ruined that. So
she goes over there and basically they talk to RGB's mother. Is it RBG?
RGB.
RGB's mother. They talk to his mother. Right? Reggie. That's his name. They talk to his mother, and she's like, "I know that my son did not die of an overdose, and he thought somebody was stealing money for him. And he says that if anything happened to me, then there's evidence that I left behind in the house and whatever." We also find out that there is this trust for Zuri that Imani can't get around. So all of his everything he left behind to his child, not his wife, not anybody extra, his child or whatever.
So none of this makes sense. So 30 minutes, the last 30 minutes of the movie is just people just telling everything that happened. The first part is just like, oh, salacious sex stuff and cheating and blah, blah, relationship stuff. And then it's like, oh my God, we have a mystery we have to solve. Gather up the team. So then Jasmine come, and then she's like, "I found the lady." And then you go to the lady, and then the lady explain everything. And then Jasmine like, "Nah, I don't believe it. Let's go."
Basically.
What?
That's basically how it went down too. So then after that, we find out that there's a money motive somewhere here, right? So they decide to get out of there because Jasmine doesn't, like you said, Jasmine doesn't believe. She's like, "Let me get out of here. Let me rub my crystals because this lady is crazy or whatever." But Layla is not so convinced. So Layla's in her car and she's listening to some of his rap music. And he has these lyrics that are giving clues. And she notices that the trinket that is in there with the snake that she saw at the house is his album cover. And so she's like, "Oh, maybe that is the clue," right? So then she goes and back to the house, reaches her hand in a terrarium with the snake that's lashing out toward her, and manages to get the trinket box.
Bruh, just lay it all out real fast. "Hey, this is this. He said something in the house. I'm driving. I hear a song. Oh, I know where the thing is. Go get it. Oh, I got it. I found it." Like, what?
I'm not putting my hand in there with no snake. Not happening.
Yeah. But why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, What?
But when she takes it out and she looks at it, it's a music box and it's playing the same melody that Zuri was playing. And there's a tape in there with the date, or what we think is a date, 10-10-20.
Very easy to remember, 10-10-20, okay.
Mm-hmm. And we find out that it means October 20th of the year 2020. So Layla encounters Audra and Marcus talking, so they're in the room.
All
the
laid
door
out
is open.
Perfectly.
The door is wide open.
All the clues is just all at once.
The grandma and her son-in-law are talking. And she's just like, well, what if we do this? And we shouldn't have did that. So like clearly they have a plan. They're in cahoots with each other. And then we see her get close to him and he gets close to her. And then she's like, well, show me how grateful. And she leans back on the bed. Audra, played by Lynn Whitfield. And she cocks her legs open.
And he started munching the carpet.
He starts munching. And
Munches for your
I
love.
was just not ready to see this in this moment. But it was kind of funny. But it was like, ooh, not the mama. So basically, Marcus is smashing everybody in the house. You choking everybody in the house. Bruh. Yeah, that's complicated. So, but he starts doing that and choking her at the same time. And but prior to this, Audra's like, basically that Zuri is messed up or whatever, but soon you'll have the son that we want. We'll have the son we wanted. So she's like basically saying that the son that her daughter is carrying, her and her, I guess, the man she's with, who's also her daughter's husband, are going to have the daughter's baby. They got a plan together. So is Marcus doing the cook too? No. Okay. Because he's doing all the women in the house.
Just disappeared
for most of the movie. She just came back to say, you'll either be evil or you'll be dead if you stay here. So anyway,
pointless.
She just pops up to say one-liners. So Marcus catches Layla as she's trying to leave because finally Layla realized she should get the heck out of Dodge. She done packed her stuff up, her music case, the violin case, all this stuff. She's trying to leave and he's like, go help serve dinner. Like you can't leave. Oh, you can't, so he distracts her. So she goes down there to help with dinner. And then she comes out to serve the dinner. Marcus and Imani are sitting at the table. Audra comes in and then they all sit down to table together. And Audra's trying to pour wine in her glass. Layla is refusing the wine because, of course, you don't trust these people anymore. So Audra basically keeps asking if Zuri has told them anything about her dad.
Why do you stay? We black. Why do you stay? Something is definitely wrong. They doing this and you're talking about, your son that you could finally have. But then you just be like, I'm going to just go along with, not just, hey, y'all, I'm out.
And then in addition to that, so they tried to set it up like she couldn't leave because she gave the keys of her car to the driver. So she doesn't have the key. Do you understand that I will walk out that mug? I will leave. However, I got to leave when I decide to leave, I'm leaving. If I can't get my car, I'm walking. But anyway.
Or you ask for your keys, right? Because if you're acting like nothing's wrong, just be like, give me my keys. I'm going to leave. I ain't staying here tonight.
Because you had reason to leave because of all that had happened. So you done tried to attack this pregnant lady and now you're supposed to be serving dinner and sitting up with her. Like, that's just weird in the first place. But anyway, Audra is asking all of these questions because they're trying to get the information so that they can siphon off this money and have the money that is willed to Zuri.
How do they know she got information?
Well, they're hoping, so anyhow, Layla makes up a lie and, they're like, we know that you met with the grandmother, right? The other grandmother.
Right.
They didn't. What did she tell you?
They didn't kill her.
Right.
So how they know she got in?
Grandmother's still alive.
They already put the plan in place. They knocked out the wife and they trying to kill the daughter. So what? You would.
Well, so we hadn't got to that.
Yeah,
yet.
but even still, what information you got and you already put the plan in place.
Right.
Like,
okay.
what?
And so since you mentioned the plan that they had was that they were going to kill both Zuri and Imani. So this woman's going to kill her daughter and granddaughter so that the money will be left and then they can have, along with the baby that's coming, they can have that money. Her and
but
Marcus
they still don't
together.
know what the dude is hiding in the house or what. But they just know all of a sudden this girl got it.
Yeah. So, so they explain all the setup in the typical way that they do. Everybody comes together and they're like, what you didn't know was that we were going to, so they explain everything.
It wasn't for you meddling kids.
Right. And so we saw also that Imani passed out because she drank water that was tainted with some type of thing to make her pass out. Layla is getting woozy too because Layla didn't drink the wine, but she just guzzled down the water after she got nervous. And they decided they're going to search Layla's possessions. And then that's when they find that tape she, had found in there with the snake.
Why didn't she just put it back in there?
Why
do you need that thing to remember 10, 10, 20?
So, yes.
It was gathering evidence to present to
Well,
who?
I think, was that the tape itself, though? I think that was the tape that...
No, that was just a thing that had the date on it. The tape was in the room with all the unarchived master recordings.
Okay.
Right? Because when she went in there, they showed one date. I think it was 10, 10, 10, but it could have been 10, 10, 20. Right? So all the tapes were right there and that he had on, I think, what's that? 8-inch reels?
Yeah. So basically what they're doing, though, is that this is how it all comes together. The note that Layla wrote earlier that she was translating turned out to be a note that they're going to use to basically explain why Layla killed everybody and then killed herself. And they take Layla, they're going to put her in a car and drive her up off of a cliff, push her off the cliff in her car. So she did the bad stuff and then killed herself, had left behind this note and stuff like that. So we see that Layla is in her car and she's passed out with the guy who is the driver who's setting everything up or whatever, but not before she realizes what's going to happen to her. And she pretends that she's passed out. And then she stabs him in the eye with one of the EpiPens. And they have this kind of like brief fight scene. Then Layla goes back to the house because she's got to rescue Zuri.
Yeah, but not before the gratuitous violence where blood has to splash everywhere and you see a whole toe up face.
So we go to Zuri. Zuri is like, I didn't eat the poison food because they were going to poison Zuri with food she was allergic to. She was like, I ate 2 bites and then she hid it underneath the mask. So that was the last final purpose for this mask, is that to hide the poison food that she chose not to eat. So Layla goes up to the studio where Marcus is playing the recording of the dude, the rapper, saying that if something happens to him, that Marcus did it and to follow the money. Like, okay, really? All right. But that's what happens.
How long has he been dead?
Since, I don't know, 2020.
You ain't go through all of these tapes by now? But
So
you're putting out albums?
Marcus comes to Layla because Layla hears it and she scampers off and claims, look, Audra blackmailed me and, and whatever. Don't you believe me? And she's like, I saw you. And so then he just started trying to kill her, choke her or whatever. They have a fight. He breaks her finger. Why? I don't know why her getting her fingers broke. The way she screamed made me laugh because she's a singer. So every time they broke a finger, she was like, ooh. It sounded like a vocal.
And it ain't like
practice.
you're using them fingers to be some violin virtuoso or something.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, so because she gets her finger, like 2 fingers, at least 2 fingers broken. First, Marcus breaks a finger, and then later when she's fighting Audra steps on her hand. It's like, you won't be playing that violin no more. So anyway, so there's a fight that's ensuing and everything like that. Of course, Audra walks out and, she's asking where is Zuri and stuff like that. And Imani she finally wakes up when she hears the weird screams from Layla. And so she's waking up and she's trying to find her gun. The gun is not there because who has it? Audra has the gun and she's holding them at gunpoint downstairs now. And so then Zuri, in the meantime, Marcus has gone up to try to find Zuri because she's missing. Zuri's supposed to be in the bed dead and she didn't eat that food, so she's missing. And Zuri throws the snake onto Marcus. And Marcus, so my question is, was Zuri just handling that snake the whole time? Like the snake wasn't vicious to Zuri, but to other people? Because how did you go get the snake out and
He's
throw
the
it at
snake
him?
whisperer.
She must be. So Marcus has Zuri and he's coming down the stairs. And then Imani is coming to, and she's trying to come down the stairs. She's like, Mama's gonna save you. And then Audra says that she did this because Imani had married Trash, talking about RGB or RBG, whichever, and sees Audra. Oh, and when Imani sees Audra, she's trying to convince Audra. Well, no. When Audra sees Imani, she's like, "Baby, look at what they did," because she don't want to seem like she was the problem, right? But basically, the whole deal is that Audra was poor and had worked for people, in cleaning up after rich people and stuff. She was like, "I'm gonna be rich." So this whole thing is about her being rich and how her daughter ruined her chances by getting with this trashy rapper guy and whatever. And basically, that they wanted the money, so they killed him, And so when this happens, Layla intervenes. She fights Audra. The gun goes off, hits the chandelier, and the chandelier falls on to Audra, and it kills her. And so Zuri and her two...
But it didn't kill her, right?
It did.
She was on a stretcher.
I thought she was dead. Y'all go to the comments. Was she dead? I thought she was dead. What you mean she was on a stretcher?
She was on a stretcher at the end of the movie.
Okay.
They willed her.
So anyway, in my mind, she was dead. Maybe just because I want the movie to be over. But anyway, so the chandelier falls on Audra. Maybe she's dead, and maybe she's on the stretcher dead, or maybe she survived. I don't know. But Zuri and her two mothers, Imani and, Mama 2.0, Layla, they all leave together. And the next scene we see, Zuri's at the concert. She's playing, and then she finishes her song, and everybody's clapping for her. And Layla and Jasmine are in the audience like, "Yeah, girl, you did good," and all of that. And then when Layla turns and she looks over, and then Audra is in the audience smiling and looking crazy as hell. And then Layla's like, "Oh my gosh." And then when Layla turns back, she's gone. And so, Layla's been traumatized, and perhaps, it had issues and whatever, but that's basically how it ends. So maybe she's alive, maybe she's not. Go ahead and clear that up, because by the end of this movie, I felt like the quick wrap up and letdown wasn't worth the build up. And yeah, but I mean, if you like a little bit of salacious and just got a couple hours to spend, it's not,
I guess, but why not just make it that?
Just make an old nasty salacious movie about some people all just boning
like
each other in the same house,
like jump scares and stuff. Like, for what?
Yeah,
they smashing and stuff so that they could get the dude's money. Typical thriller stuff.
Just give me regular Tyler Perry without the thriller horror aspect. Just give me the regular salacious.
Well, they tried to marry the two, and I think they didn't do it that well.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just what I think. I mean, of course, like anything else, I'm going to watch everything that comes out. It's our people.
I've seen a bunch of people say that this is so amazing. So.
Well, I know that a lot of people will like this. So to be clear, just because I'm not going to say I didn't like it. It was what I would think it would be, And so, I mean, I'm not mad at it. It could have been better. It could have definitely been better. But I know that this is a type of film that would be popular, and a lot of people will like it. A lot of people are not necessarily looking for things to make sense. Like I said, the aesthetic was amazing. The people are beautiful. And if you want to watch something with beautiful people who boning each other and have, a little bit of plot in there with it, it's not that bad if that's what you're looking for. So, that was it. But yeah.
The slope of Chloe Bailey's back to I don't even know what you call it, to the peak of her butt was huge.
What?
Yeah.
So you mean her hip to butt ratio? Waist to butt.
I guess.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. When he smashed her from behind.
See what I'm saying? Like,
her
this
back
is
not even arched in. It's a big gap.
Well, she's very curvy. And they understood that, and they wanted to film that and put that on film. And
I don't think I ever seen that in a movie.
Well,
because usually, back in the day, they would just be slim and stuff, and then
yeah. So, I just feel like when she gets ready for other roles, because I do think that Chloe Bailey is very, very talented in a lot of ways. I just hate to see her reduced to the curve and arch of her back. Look at what you took it away from this. You're like, but in the end, let me just say that
you the one, like, if you want to see beautiful people doing this, then that's where that comes
okay,
from.
well, it triggered you. But what I'm saying is I don't want this to be the thing that people think about with her.
Yeah, but if that's what people want, if they want to see beautiful people smashing, then she can make a good career. So the thing, too, is you don't necessarily nowadays need big studios and stuff to have a nice, good career. If you're just getting paid to be in Netflix, Peacock, and whatever Paramount stuff, then you probably get paid real well and have a nice, long career.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then the more and more they let independent people in and, the less couths in,
I guess
then you could have a nice little career doing that. Right? Because now, so my thing too was you had at the end when I see Coco Jones and Chloe Bailey sitting there together, I'm like, we got two singers here. What are we doing?
Well, it's two singers who are both actresses, right? Because we can't forget Coco Jones being on
yeah, but
Bel
that's
Air.
my point. They're singers.
Yeah.
Right? So back in the day, we would not say nothing. We would not say that. Two singers who are also actors. We'd be like, you're an actor or you're a singer. Which one you doing? They're singers. But if they're actors, then all right, then your career is about acting and, whatever. But for some reason, we want everybody to be everything now and then cheer them on and then be like, how come y'all ain't listen to their music? Because they're actors. How come their music ain't doing well? They're actors.
Well, I think it's not because of that. I think that to be really great in an area, diluting yourself by trying to be a jack of all trades doesn't get you to the top of that game. What it might do is what we see happening, because this is interesting because Coco Jones recently talked about how she feels like, I get really close and then I'm not breaking through. And she, I guess in a way, doesn't view what she has as success. But the thing is that I love her tone of her voice. I think she's incredibly talented. However, it's diluted because of all of the different types of projects
But they constantly get acting jobs, right? So I don't think it dilutes the things when they try to do different things, because you go 10 years as a child to be able to be a good musician, then you kind of mastered it, right? And then you go into acting and then you're successful at that. And then when it's time to make an album, you make an album. But
I also think that they have an unrealistic idea of what success is going to look like for them.
In everything too. It's like it's a disappointment if I'm not successful at everything, but you're more successful than everybody. Everybody know your name and you're in different things acting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that where the unrealistic expectations come in is the fact that they're looking at Beyonce.
Yeah,
they're looking at the people who were the number one,
right?
And then feeling like that's where they should be able to be, and everybody's obviously not going to be able to be number one.
Yeah, what's old girl name who's not Shantae Moore, the other one who I always mix up?
Jade Nova?
No, Shantae Moore, that
Shantae Moore, I don't know.
Type. The one who made the song with Fabulous, and Fabulous remade her song or whatever.
Oh, Tamia.
Yeah, so they weren't huge. They weren't basic crossover smash, right? They had, if like Chloe and her sister or whatever, they had an album together. You got a couple solo albums, EP or whatever. You are success industry albums, not just independent. Coco Jones had whatever out. You are successful in that too.
And the main thing is, like, you guys are actually singing versus a lot of these other people. I'm not going to name their names because I'm not trying to diss them, but I'm just saying they not really singing.
Yeah.
Coco Jones, all of them, Halle and Chloe are really singing.
You know how many singers would want to be on their level, just the music wise, to be able to have fans and to be able to sell or stream whatever they stream and do concerts and shit and be on every fucking award show? For the most part.
Well, and I don't think that it's bad to have ambition, but I also think that there is what is the ego component of this desire? Like, what is, I want to say in a way, like, what more do you want?
Right.
Like, what
how many actors want to be able to be in a movie that people watch like this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
then there'd be a bunch of people
and get
who
chance after chance
who have way less opportunities. Who's like, oh man, she need more. What?
And they get chance after chance of making stuff that's not even that great.
Yeah, but they get to make
and they still get another
artists
role.
want to do, right?
Yeah, and they still get another role. And I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying, like, you know, you've made it into the chosen door.
Exactly.
And so...
And you make enough money,
success.
I'm sure, to be able to sustain your life, especially even with just social media followers. A company come to you and you make a few $1,000s, probably tens of $1,000s to say the thing. You're doing all right. And a lot of this stuff is really first world problems, and we don't hear that enough anymore.
And yeah. But I just think, not because I'm being stodgy and all like, oh, you know, she shouldn't be nude or whatever. I just think that these decisions are going to negatively affect Chloe in ways that maybe she can't see now, or maybe she's like, I'm going to take what I can get. And
especially when you
know,
when
and
you're your
because
youngest.
the other thing is, who will you say when you're what?
When you're your youngest.
She's not the youngest.
Your youngest? You only get older. I'm talking about her.
Oh, I thought you meant between her and her sister. So I guess it's just Chloe is. I guess maybe maybe she's saying I'll take what I can get, but I also think that some of these plays are not for longevity, or maybe she also honestly is looking at it like, they chose my sister. And the both of y'all are not going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, there can't be two at the top like that. I shouldn't say there can't be, there won't be. And especially because they have a similar look, a similar sound. Like, you're not going to be able to make, you know, Tuscany 2.
Right, exactly.
Part 2.
So the thing is, in these things, you have to take the opportunities, because it's not like you're going to get them. Because now it's not like in the 90s where you get to have this roadmap of what happened to other people. You see that you had actors who you seen for a while, then you ain't see them again. You ain't holding out for no opportunities that ain't going to ever come, possibly. Yeah. You have to take them.
And I just also wanted to mention, back to the whole thing about Tamia and Shantae Moore. To me, they are two of like the best vocalists ever. And you know, they got pretty famous, right? But neither of them was ever, quote, Beyonce, right? You know, her level of fame, if you look at the trajectory of her career. But they still singing and touring. And as far as talent is concerned, hands down, they definitely have the industry respect, you know. But, hey, everybody can't be number one. And I guess you can pursue that if you want to, or you can just do what you want to do. And maybe Chloe is just doing what she wants to do and saying, hey, I'm going to get while the getting is good, and I don't really care about the rest of it. As long as it's a role I'd be willing to take, sounds good. And I guess that's okay too. You know, I can imagine the decisions are not easy for her to make. Probably be a lot easier if the competition wasn't your sister too, you know.
I don't know if it's necessarily competition, but because like you said, they're in two different lanes.
Now.
Yeah.
You know, now. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, let me know what y'all thought about the movie and what movies that you like. By the way, just so that you know, we have been covering a lot of movies lately, and I know all of y'all haven't seen them and stuff like that, but you know, we on this channel have covered like The Wood, a full breakdown, 2 separate videos. We talked about Love Don't Cost a Thing recently, you know, so there's some recent videos that you can just go to the channel and look at the video you know, tab, and then be able to see the recent videos. You can also go to axiom.app and you'll see all of our recent videos across all the channels. That's important because our stuff doesn't always get served on YouTube, and then y'all be thinking we didn't do something, and we've been out. We putting two and 3 videos out a week sometimes, and you're not being able to see it. So just make sure you get a chance to see those videos.
If you made it this far, type mask off in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now. And also be sure to visit axiom.app, where you'll find all of our recent videos in one place with links to them back on YouTube so you can watch them here.